Hey everyone, thank you for coming today. I'm at the end of a long recording date. This one's a doozy. There's a lot to the Databricks Alteryx connection, especially if you aren't an admin and you're learning it. So this one goes through a lot of like infrastructure and how they kind of work together. In the setup you need to do in Databricks to make this happen. There are chapters in this, so if you want to skip to like when we're actually kind of developing, you can. And there's definitely going to be a follow up to this video because I ultimately we fail. We learn a lot, but we fail to get it to do what I wish it would do. So, there's frustration right now and at the end of this video, but again, lots to learn. It's frustration for the wrong reasons. I'm excited about all the stuff we did do. We did make a connection. We can clearly pull data from Databricks, and you know we made that connection. We did some Databricks stuff. We talk about important concepts for making decisions around Analytics Cloud and Databricks and Snowflake and stuff like that. So enjoy the video. Skip around if you want. Like and subscribe. I guess I have to say that now. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. So today I was able to get connected into Databricks. I actually did the whole thing. I launched a Databricks instance, created an AWS account, launched a Databricks instance, created a workspace, got connected in Alteryx Analytics Cloud. And the fifth thing I want to do today is actually do some data work in there and to see what it looks like and see how difficult it is and things that were, I say difficult, I'm sorry, see how easy it is and figure out what's next with Databricks for a platform. And Alteryx. I'm not making the final decision on Databricks today. Just for everybody. A few notes here. As like a new learner, if you're trying to figure out, do I want to use, well, let's talk about Databricks and Snowflake real quick. Before I go through this, I'm going to do chapters on this so you can jump forward if you don't care to see this like Snowflake Databricks conversation or Databricks infrastructure. Just getting people in or how to launch Databricks. Or we're going to go through that first. So chapters below that you're interested in. So first things first, Snowflake versus Databricks. I hear a lot of people talk about Snowflake versus Databricks, or like they chose one or the other. But as I've been going through this like learning process with Alteryx and with just other cloud stuff, I've been doing Snowflake for a while, but I've always heard more about Databricks and like, okay, Databricks, I like to leverage Databricks, blah, 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 whatever. And it always seems like it's an either or conversation. I don't understand why now. Now that I've been in, I don't understand why. It seems like they play in a lot of the same space, but like really where Snowflake is truly a cloud data warehouse that operates the way you would expect a cloud data warehouse to operate, with now some analytics applications that exist on top of it within the environment. Databricks is like the opposite direction, where Databricks said, hey, we're going to do essentially, I may be messing my history up on this, but you get the idea. They were like, we're going to build some sort of cloud analytics platform leveraging Spark. And then it seems, I don't know if they went back towards data warehousing or they just like sort of stayed away from it as like a platform. You can store data there. We're going to later dive more into that. But as far as like if I'm operating a data warehouse, my opinion thus far is that Snowflake is the way to go. Where Databricks is more of like an analytics platform. So if you're doing like heavy analytics and machine learning, not that Snowflake can't do that, but Databricks seems to be the spot to do that. So those are the two opinions there. If you're trying to go learn one or the other, just as a note, I found like the time that it took me to like launch a Snowflake instance and use it was 5 to 10 minutes maybe. You don't have to know much. I don't even think you have to do a credit card, but you you can launch it and it's just ready for you to go. Now you have to do some like admin-y stuff. You don't even really have to do admin-y stuff. You have to do some like data loading and what if you want to figure that out. But that's all part of like the ETL process or the data the data warehouse like process. So things you will learn or know, not so much on the infrastructure side. Anyway, so that can be done there very quickly. Databricks took me about an hour to launch, and I had to kind of understand a little bit about cloud architecture to do it. So in order to do that, in order to connect, you've got to launch what's called a workspace. And so going back to the front, if I sign up for a Databricks account, there's a community edition of Databricks, which you can use for free. That does launch pretty quickly. But if you want to like do any of like your own learning of the management aspect of Databricks, you have to sign up for an AWS account, which does require a credit card. There's a free edition, but it does require a credit card on file. And then and then you have to set up a workspace in your AWS account from Databricks. So you have to have admin rights in there, a certain level of admin rights in your AWS section to put that together. But once it's all together, it seems to be really cool. I haven't done a ton of work in it, but I did get it. It took about an hour. I'm going to walk you through that right now, that process. And again, if you're not interested in this, in the setup of Databricks, skip to the it might be important for you to understand how we set up Alteryx, but it's not, I wouldn't say a requirement necessarily. So this is what Databricks looks like. If when you launch this, if you're in the environment for what's it called, the community edition environment, this will look a little bit more robust, but mine's fairly empty. So I had to create a workspace. So you create a workspace here. This looks way different anyway, you create a workspace. So you can either do a quick start, which is recommended. And what this does is it actually takes you over to AWS, which is why you have to have that AWS connection, and helps you launch one of these. And so I'm sorry, these are actually the steps of creating the stack. In AWS it's called a stack. The workspace is what is the term over on Databricks. It walks you through this. It's actually really easy to do, and it just does the whole launch for you. Takes about 15 to 20 minutes. This took me a second because it would do a step and I wouldn't know what was happening, and then it would just kind of like be spinning over here in the console. So give it like 20 minutes, and sometimes the refresh between the two platforms, you need to like refresh the page for something to, like if this finished, I was worried that it didn't launch because I was just clicking around on here, and then once I refreshed it, it showed up. So if you're going to do that, be patient. So that's this. From here, what you need is something called an access token. And so I created an access token. To do that, you go up to a user, you go to user settings, you go to developer, and you create an access, or you go to access tokens. Generate a new one. You generate it. You can only see it once. So save it somewhere if you want it, you want to save it. But you copy it, and then we're gonna need that in a second to do the setup in Alteryx. So let's go to our Alteryx setup here. One thing I want to show you, so new chapter. One thing I want to show you is if okay, so when you are making a connection, if I create a connection and I want to create a Databricks connection, note that at the bottom here, I see this thing that says Databricks workspaces are not set up in the Alteryx Analytics workspace. Admin needs to configure Databricks workspace. Okay, so you have to have admin rights, which I do not on this particular instance. So what I can do is switch over to the one where I do have access. And I can show you what this looks like. Go to Workspace Admin. Over here on the left, there is just a selection that says Databricks. So I click on that and it says, hey, what are we connecting to? We do a connection on the workspace. I say, okay, you have to authenticate here. Let me back up, actually. Let me just show you what this looks like. We're going to go through here. Sorry, sometimes this takes Okay, this is the name. Here's our service URL. So this service URL, when you're setting this up, you need the access token. So that's why you need, that's why all of this stuff over here had to happen, so that you can get one of these access tokens. Sorry, I normally don't like to cut away, but my daughter jumped in and I locked the door. Normally I record these at like 11 o'clock at night, but it's currently 4:30 in the afternoon. So there's the kid factor that I didn't think about. Yes. So you're filling this out. You need the, trying to recap where I got to. Yes. So once you've done that, then you fill out all these other things, all this other information. So I just left, the basic starter warehouse, starter SQL warehouse. Now again, this is where like Snowflake and you can set this up in the same way. Now get to know, you can also store it on a cluster. I'm not quite sure what the difference is here, but like if you're trying to do SQL, if you're trying to build a warehouse, this is where you can do that. Again, we'll dive more into the Databricks side later. But yeah, and then you have to select a node. So some of this stuff like is important because some of these are giant, and so it can blow up your compute costs and probably your storage costs a little bit too. Yeah, so you just have to be, I had to go read a bunch of stuff. These are like the smallest ones I could note. And then I could also manually, so I removed auto scaling. I said, top, this is the amount of nodes I want. So I'm trying to keep that super low. Now that to note, caveat here going forward, if we see something take forever, maybe because I have done something like this, but I am just trying to minimize any costs because I don't really want to pay for this. Okay, good stuff. So anyway, so I made that Databricks connection. So once I've made that Databricks connection, I can go to back, I can go to connections, I create a connection to Databricks, and then I fill this out. And then note that it has the personal access token. I think the first time I did this, I had to put it in here, but it persists for the rest of the time. And so I just say test. We can do a test connection here. Boom. It's actually super easy to set up once that's done. Everything that, from a user standpoint, this is going to be super easy. But once all the admin work's done. So this should be a very easy connection when the time comes. Okay. So that is connecting to Databricks. Now let's actually do some stuff. I have this workflow here that I'm using it to I was writing some stuff to Snowflake and I was writing some stuff to like a storage space. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to try to create a table on Databricks, and we're going to see how that works over in Databricks. And then we're going to do some querying from it. And then we're going to just, play around with it and see how that affects Databricks. So let's go ahead and say continue. Oh, the table name. Let's call this transactions. We'll call it AC. We're going to do everything lowercase because I noticed that somewhere else I was having issues with capital. Oh, I had tried to create a workspace with caps in it, and all lowercase. We're using all lowercase for now. We say continue. And everyone we say append. So we'll save it like that for now. So I say save. Validation failed. Why did my validation fail? Curious. Okay, we're going to create a new table. I wonder if it's default information schema. I wonder if it's continue. Hold on, we're going to try something here. AC underscore, what do we call that? Transactions. I don't think that's what I called it, but let's just do a create new. Maybe that's what it was. Interesting. Okay, well, let's jump over to Databricks and see if I can figure out where am I? Let's come over here and let's go to SQL editor. Let's go to SQL warehouses here real quick. I wonder if it has to do with if my that's interesting. Create SQL warehouse, starter warehouse. Do I have, after 60 minutes, I wonder if it has to start? Let's see here. We're just going to try a few things here. Auth URL. I don't have anything special on the, let's see, it's stopped. Oh, maybe that's my problem, is it's not started. let's starting. Let's see. Yep, is owner, admins can manage, all users can use. Okay. Sorry, I'll speed through this whole thing. While that's running, so it looks like, okay, so this is where it's spinning. This is pro, it's small. I'm just gonna look through here. Oh, server failed to launch. Okay, so we're trying to launch this. I wonder if this is a, let's see. Okay, so this is again like learning the Databricks thing. I had to actually launch the warehouse, but what happened is that it needed to verify that I was actually in the same location, the same geographical area. So same, just the cloud infrastructure thing is like you've got the US East, US West, US East in Ohio, US West in Seattle, something like that. Portland, it's in one of those. It's up there somewhere. And so it just took a second to like verify that, and then then once that was verified, then I could get it running. So this works. Let's go back to this and let's test this out. See if verification passes. Oh yeah. All right. So we're going to create a new table when we run this job. So let's run the job. Let's add this to a new. Also, I don't know if this was in here last time I looked or when I started this like a month ago, but the whole like right click add to a new container is in here now. So that's awesome. And if it was always in there, then good for you, AAC team. Sorry for pretending that it wasn't or for not recognizing it earlier. Let's run job. So if I were to guess, this is going to take a minute or two just because of how this works on this side with our text input. But we'll see. We will see. While this is running, actually, I'm going to take this opportunity to go through some Databricks architecture stuff, because what better use of our time is there than looking at architecture for cloud platforms. So this similar to, again, if we're going to just keep the comparison for Snowflake and Databricks, and actually even Alteryx. Actually, now that this is a fun pattern that you're going to see as you guys, as everyone dives into cloud. This storage or the separation of like interface and compute and storage and stuff is something we're going to see. Well, maybe not everywhere. Actually, now that I think about it, I think that I saw somewhere that Databricks and Snowflake are the only two that do this really well. The separation of compute and storage, which is, again, I talked about this on a video a few days ago, but that is like super valuable in this space. Like this whole addition of this functionality is super important. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I went back to checking my job. Let's see. Failed. Failed. Why did it fail? Failed. Connect. It failed. It just failed. Super job ID. Okay. Yep. Well, let's go here. I wonder if this is like a connection thing. Okay. We'll come back to this. Well, eventually, maybe this like 2-second like topic, we'll just throw out the entirety of this video. Eventually get there. All right, so let's see here. Let's look at our SQL. Let's check on query history. So, okay, so it looks like it create table. How do we do this in order? So this happened first, then this happened first. Create table, then drop table if exists. Why do we drop it? Okay, hold on. let's see. We're just gonna check things out here. So if I go to default information schema, did I put it in the information schema on accident? Okay, hold on a second. Let's, Databricks stack default. Databricks default. Oh, interesting. As I was clicking around, let's see here. Select current user. What's this is interesting here. Using Delta. So this ran. I'll just check on this query. Okay, yeah. Okay, hide query profile. All right. So that ran. Then why did this happen? I'm unsure. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna hold off on that. But what we're gonna do, what's nice is that I've got this query, and I can just copy, and we can go to SQL editor, and I can just create it. Run. Sure. Using Delta. So now if I look in here and look in here and under default, I should have this. Okay, so let's see. Insert. Oh, cool. All right, so this exists in here. Here's all my tables. Okay, cool. Let's go back to Alteryx. Maybe let's see if there's a, let's see here. Let's edit this job. Let's edit this. We're going to overwrite an existing table under default, or not overwrite existing. Let's see what happens. Append. Let's just append for now. Let's see how this works. And then, because curious to me, well, okay. So my understanding is that what happens is that this generates the code for Snowflake anyway. It generates the code. If you're doing Snowflake, Snowflake generates the whole code, does the whole thing on Snowflake. The way this works, compute in the cloud is like the push down. So like the idea that if you almost like in database in Alteryx Designer, it's the same set of tools where you can say, let's do this. And then if I'm going to do it in Snowflake, it just essentially creates the whole code, writes it on Snowflake. I'm fairly certain it does the same thing on Databricks. But I'm curious what our issue is that we're having here. Nothing in here is like, none of this should be like a data structure issue or like maybe I don't know. Okay. All right. What's going on here? What is going on here? It just failed. Okay. Let's go back into. So it's reaching out. Let's see, create table. It shouldn't create a table because I've got a table. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Did I do this? I did this. So that just, and then select current user. Why is it doing this? Let's see. Hold on. SQL editor did it actually work? Let's see. Ooh, I'm going to get used to this because I like this. Actually, I could just do select star. Okay, hold on. Is there a way to run selected? Okay, so there's nothing in there. Actually, also just to note, an interesting kind of functionality here. Snowflake, if I'm selected on this and I hit run, then it'll just run this section. If I click it on here, it'll just run this section. It's split up by this semicolon. This actually functions a little bit more like, I think SQL Server doesn't delineate between those two. So it looks like it's trying to run the whole thing if I just hit run. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about it failing. Why is it failing? Why are we? Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to put this on a pause for a second. Well, let's note what good things that have happened here. We're talking to it. It's talking to each other. We're just not quite sure why we can't actually write to it. We're having a problem. If I was to bet, this is either something I have done incorrectly and I just don't know, or this is something that needs to be fixed. So we will come back. And yeah, we're going to figure that out. This is annoying. The lack of, I'll just say this, it connected to fail, connected to prepare, connected to transfer, connected to process. The whole thing failed, which doesn't make sense because I did see it happening on the Databricks. If I were to guess, if I'm just guessing, because it looks here, two different processes. On the create table, it created, selected current user, dropped. And then on the append, it just selected table, select current user, then dropped. So I don't know what it's doing, or I don't know why it's doing it. I know what it's doing. I just don't know why it's doing it. So we'll get back. Okay, I did a lot off screen, and I recorded a bunch of it, but it was all over the place. So here's what we're gonna do to wrap this all back together, and show where we got, what we tried to do, and essentially the whole process that we've done today, and then where we ended up at. Some of the stuff you didn't see me dev, but I will show you what happened. Honestly, it's like one of the first times I'm really frustrated through this process. Okay. We created an AWS account. We created a Databricks account. We set up a Databricks workspace by creating an AWS stack. This happened. We did this here, went through here. So like this looked like one step, but essentially it's two things. Gotcha. Generated an access token. I needed this access token to create a Databricks connection in my admin portal. And then after that, I'd create a Databricks connection as the user so that my users can see it, can create their own data sets in Analytics Cloud. Then what we had to do is we had this period of time where we had to launch the SQL database for the first time, which this was failing. So I wasn't sure why, or my connection was failing. Yeah, that's right. My connection was failing, and I had to go in and launch this database. And so it had to then verify in AWS that I was in the correct geographic region. This took like 15 minutes. So that was done. From then, we can create a workflow in Designer Cloud. And what I tried to do is create a table with some dummy data, write it back, real small table, and we got stuck. Like we couldn't figure out what that error was. And I see it again later. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. From here, we try something else. I watched a video. Where is this video? I watched this video by Alex. I apologize if I butcher the heck out of this. Gnibus? Something that's great. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm destroying your name. But I watched this video. I'll leave the link in the description. I would suggest everyone that is interested in what we're doing here today with Databricks and Analytics Cloud to watch this. Because she actually goes through a connection through an entirely different path than I did. I connected through Alteryx Analytics Cloud, and then there's actually a way to do it from Databricks. And so her stuff works. So I'm wondering if again, there's something with my setup that isn't working. I'd like to believe it's not. I'd like to believe it's not that, but I'm thinking it might be, but I don't know how to debug it at this point because I can't. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. So anyway, what she in that video also showed is on Databricks, there is this thing called the Unity catalog. This thing is awesome. It's essentially a governance layer for Databricks. So we can do this. So what I did was I ended up connecting to my Snowflake instance that you've seen me work in. So now I have all of this on here so I can access it. I can query the stuff directly from here. And what I ended up doing is querying one of those tables. I went and I made a connection, a data set with one of those connections. So this is actually, again, Snowflake through Databricks. And then do some sampling and then cleaning. And then I try to do the write back function again. So this is the Databricks, creating a new table, all this stuff. Got the same kind of like this error, failed unexpectedly, don't know what's going on. And then when I looked back at the query, so I go to my query history, I see right here, create table, select current user, drop table if exists. So I don't know what's going on here. Again, it's that same pattern, create table, select current user, drop table if exists. Now, one thing that is interesting is that on Alex's example, she had shown that there was a job run here when she did run it in Alteryx, and I'm not seeing that. So I'm not quite sure what isn't happening correctly. And I find that frustrating. So, yeah. So if we go back to our, where did this go? My diagram. So to do that, what we do is we take this data that exists, we create a catalog. So we create like essentially a virtual data set here on top of our Snowflake. And then we create a connection in Snowflake that connects through Databricks to Snowflake. Now, why would we want to do this? The virtualization of data is nice because let's say there's a, let's say I don't want this data to exist outside of Snowflake. I don't have to do it if I'm doing this. Let's say I want to use Alteryx to leverage the Spark engine in Databricks. Boom, I can do that with data that exists on Snowflake. That's why you might want to do this. So I created that connection, I created a workflow, and then we got stuck again. So here's where I'm at. This cool, it is like a 4 environment thing that we did today, but I wish this was like success instead of we got stuck here. So recap. Did cool stuff in Databricks. Learned a little bit about AWS management, account management, and then also how to manage Databricks. We learned some things about the Analytics Cloud, how to set this up. So the setup works. And again, that's frustrating. Like I can query the data. Like if I wanted to select star from that table, let me make sure I'm correct with that. No, it does work because I can get this. Look, I see the data here. Okay, so yeah, I am pulling data through Databricks. It's just this table creation process that I'm having a hard time with. Okay. I may be a little spun up right now. I just don't know why. Anyway, we learned cool stuff. We did cool stuff today. Today was not a loss. Today was actually a huge win. We did get our Databricks and all that stuff figured out. We did set up a connection and we are querying data from it. If I wanted to do stuff, I could, but I'm too dumb or frustrated or pig-headed to like move past this inability to write a table here. What I should do is I should do analytics. No, I'm not. We're done. It's 11:30 and I have to render this video. So I'm going to go. Thank you everyone that stuck with me today. There will be a follow-up part 2 to this. Again, this is part of our learning process. We are doing cool stuff. And when we figure out the problem here, we can make another video and say, boom, we solved it. So that some poor idiot like me in the future connecting to this can figure out, oh, I saw that or someone's video shows what this problem is. And now here's how we fix it. So this is a win. Doesn't feel like one, but it's a win. Everyone have a great day. Great night. Great whatever time of day you are in.